Very called to become a member of the Catholic Church.
Love the Catholic Church. It's just the best place to be.
From the studios of EWTN, this is Open Line. In North America, call toll-free 1-800-585-9396. That's 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985. You can also send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
A tremendous Tuesday to each and every one of you. Thanks so much for taking a little time out of the first part of your week to join us here on EWTN's Open Line Tuesday. We talked the life issues on Tuesday. Our very own pro-life warrior, Barbara McGuigan, is in the house. The number is 1-800-585-9396, toll-free anywhere in North America, 1-800-585-9396. If you're outside the United States and Canada, we'd love to hear from you as well. Your number is 1-205-271-2985, and we'll put you straight to the front of the line for Barbara McGuigan at 1-205-271-2985. You can send us an email, openline@ewtn.com. Put Barbara McGuigan or Tuesday or pro-life in the subject line so we can get it to the proper day. And you can also text your question to Barbara. She's moved to a high-tech area of California recently. So you can text your question to Barbara. Text the letters EWTN to 55000. Wait for a response. Text your first name and your question, message, and data rates may apply. I'm Jack Williams. Michael McCall back producing the program. We're happy to see him off the sick bed and back into the studio. Your call screeners, Mr. Matt Gubensky, and Jeff Burson, is always handling our social media endeavors. Our host, as she is every Tuesday, our very own pro-life warrior. Don't let her diminutive stature fool you. She is a formidable opponent for the devil, Miss Barbara McGuigan. Barbara, how are you?
I'm fine, Jack. How about you?
It's radio conference week for us.
Oh, so you guys are so swamped.
We're busy.
Yes.
So everybody,
yes.
if you're in the neighborhood, Birmingham, Alabama, and you live in faraway places like Southern California, and you do not have EWTN radio, you need to get to Birmingham before Thursday. And if you can get here before tomorrow, that'd be even better, because we're going to have an all-day retreat at the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament. It's going to be outstanding. We'll have a beautiful talk on confession by Father Larry Richards in the morning, followed by confessions. Bishop Baker here in Birmingham is going to celebrate Mass for us at noontime. Wow. There'll be tours of the St. John Paul II Eucharistic Center. You can visit the final resting place of Mother Angelica. Beautiful, beautiful. Dr. Ray Guarendi will give a talk in the afternoon. We'll have a rosary at the Lord's Grotto. That's a week's worth of stuff right there, just in one day,
sure
at the beautiful shrine that Mother built in honor of El Divino Niño. And then the rest of the week we'll have some wonderful activities for these beautiful people who are operating these Catholic radio stations that carry EWTN programming around the country, and also those who would like to bring EWTN radio to their area. So please keep us in your prayers as we go along during this radio conference week. Barbara.
Yes. You know what? Let me tell you something before you say. I just took my puppy to the groomers this morning, and she said, "So what do you do?" And I said, "I do Catholic radio," and she says, "EWTN?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "Oh my gosh, I recognize your voice." So even the dog groomers listen to Catholic radio.
The good groom with Barbara McGuigan.
Groom at the top.
There you go. Your appeal is without limit. So.
Oh, I don't know about that, but but it was funny to meet her.
We've been motherhood.
Yeah.
Under attack in America for quite some time now. You came across an article that you thought was particularly poignant to this issue.
I did. One of our listeners actually sent it to me. I thought it was incredibly interesting. It was in the Wall Street Journal. It's called The Politicization of Motherhood. James Toronto is the author of it, and it's about a Jewish psychoanalyst by the name of Erica Commissar, who lives and practices on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. I love how some of the Hollywood stars, Manhattan. She admits to being a political liberal, But thankfully, because of what she's been seeing in her practice, this little gal has the chutzpah to face reality, do the research, and write the book, Being There. Why prioritizing motherhood in the first 3 years matters. So as you might expect, the progressive media is rejecting Ms. Kamazar and her book completely, but the Christian radio stations love her. And I thought it was cute because one of the hosts of Fox and Friends said, "Your book is the best thing since the invention of the refrigerator." I thought, my goodness,
Wow.
that's quite a statement.
No more hams hanging from the rafters, huh?
No more hams in the rafters. So what on earth, was my question, could it be that is perpetuating the continental divide between the right and left in this country and causing such angst? Well, Ms. Kamazar, backed by her experiences in her practice and by research in psychology, neuroscience, and epigenetics, which I looked up. It is the science used to describe anything other than DNA sequence that influences the development of an organism. And I think in this case, we're talking about the brain. She developed her premise that mothers are biologically necessary for babies, and not only for the obvious reasons of pregnancy and birth. This is what she said, Jack. Babies are more neurologically fragile than we've ever understood. And she refers to the views of neuroscientist N.I.M. Tottenham of Columbia University, who said that babies, I didn't ever know this. I always get excited when I learn new things. Babies are born without a nervous system. And mothers are the central nervous system to babies, especially for the first 9 months after birth. So what does that mean? Every time a mom comforts a baby that is in distress, she's actually regulating the baby's emotions from the outside in. And after 3 years, the baby internalizes that ability to regulate their emotions, but not until then. For that reason, moms need to be there as much as possible, both physically and emotionally, for children in the first 1,000 days. So I thought, okay, now who's going to believe all this? What's your research? What's your science? So my next question was, how does mom teach baby to regulate his or her own emotions? Here it is. The regulatory mechanism is oxytocin, a neurotransmitter popularly known as the love hormone. Oxytocin is a buffer against stress that mothers produce when they give birth, breastfeed, or nurture their babies. And the more oxytocin the mom produces, the more she produces it in her baby by communicating via eye contact, touch, and gentle talk. Did you know, Jack, when a baby is born, he can only see as far as his mother's eyes?
I did not know that.
It's a beautiful thing when you think about that. So not only by eye contact, but by her touch and her gentle talk. And so the baby in turn develops oxytocin receptors. This is so amazing to me, which allow for self-regulation at a later age. So you're setting your kid up to be able to regulate his emotions or her emotions. So it's all incredibly wonderful. Women were made by God to produce more oxytocin, to be the most well-suited to sensitivity and empathetic nurturing, but she doesn't leave dads out. They produce a different nurturing hormone known as vasopressin, what we call the protective, aggressive hormone. So what Ms. Kamazar was seeing in her practice was an increase in children with ADHD and an increase in aggression, particularly in boys, and an increase in depression in girls. And also, she said more youngsters were being diagnosed with social disorders whose symptoms resembled those with autism. having difficulty relating to other children and having difficulty with empathy. So what she did was, she's a gutsy gal. She put all the pieces together, and she found that the absence of mothers in children's lives on a daily basis was what she saw to be one of the triggers for these mental disorders. In fact, while she wanted to write a book 12 years ago, this isn't something brand new for her. She's been working on this a long time. Her own children needed her to be emotionally and physically present. So that's why she put the whole thing off. And so I really appreciate that she walks her talk. So there's more to this, and I'm sure you want to go to a break, which is great. And possibly, if anyone's interested, I can tell you the rest of this, because it's quite amazing and it's very scientific.
Motherhood Matters, EWTN's Open Line Tuesday. Barbara McGuigan is in the house. The number's 1-800-585-9396. Toll free anywhere in North America. 1-800-585-9396. Open Line Tuesday with Barbara McGuigan.
Hello, this is Father John Paul Mary.
This is Debbie Georgiani, co-host of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
My friends, this is Bishop Kevin Vann of the Diocese of Orange. I want to thank you very much for listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Anna Mitchell.
I had this formative experience during one Sunday Mass in the Easter season in 7th grade. During the Gloria, I remember having this sense of being filled. If you can imagine what it must feel like to be a cup being filled with water, that's how it felt. It started at my feet and it moved up my body. And I've come to believe that that was the Holy Spirit. And I can really trace my zeal for the faith back to that moment.
The Sunrise Morning Show, Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
The Holy Father's prayer intention for the month of November is that Christians in Asia, bearing witness to the gospel in word and deed, may promote dialogue, peace, and mutual understanding, especially with those of other religions.
Christ is the answer, with Father John Riccardo.
First passage comes from Mark 2, beginning in verse 1. So he's gone back to his hometown now, or the town where he's making his home, Capharnaum. And it says, after he returned to Capharnaum after some days, it was reported that he was at home. And many were gathered together so that there was no longer room for them. And he was preaching the word to them. And the whole town's there. And they came to him, some people, bringing to him a paralytic carried by 4 men. So they removed the roof above him, and when they made an opening, they let down the pallet on which the paralytic lay. But Jesus doesn't heal him. Jesus says to him, I forgive you. Which we may not be all that shocked by, but the crowd is irate over, particularly the Pharisees, who say to him, why does this man speak thus? It's blasphemy. Who can forgive sins but God alone? Somehow Jesus, in saying this, is communicating not just to the man, but to everybody, indeed to all of us who hear it, that he was somehow offended in the person's sins, and he also has the authority and the power to forgive them.
This is Open Line on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. If you have a question or comment, call 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985 or send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
Couple of lines open for you at 1-800-585-9396. Toll free anywhere in North America. 1-800-585-9396. Michael McCall, our producer extraordinaire, recovering from a little upper respiratory illness. Yes, we need something to keep him awake, so give some phone calls in here. So Michael has to do some work behind the glass today. 1-800-585-9396. Lori Barber is watching on Facebook Live, and she's got an interesting question about your article. She says, can a grandmother have the same effect?
Can a grandmother have the same effect on the child? You know, I would say so, and I would say so based on the fact that I'm a grandmother, but also by the fact that Miss Kamazar says that some young mothers, well, she says that guilt isn't necessarily bad, because some mothers who go to work every day start to feel a bit guilty, and she said that's good. That is a signal feeling that something's wrong and that they're in conflict. If they go to a therapist or deal with the conflict head on, they often make different choices, and Ms. Commissar says better choices. That's better. She said not perfect. And she is at pains to emphasize that mothering is not about perfection. Because I think some young women today, especially those from broken families who really didn't have siblings, or maybe an older sibling or younger siblings, but she was not involved with them, sometimes they feel like they wouldn't be good mothers. But God takes care of all that with His grace. But anyway, Ms. Commissar says that staying at home isn't right for all new mothers. Some lack the wherewithal to take time off work. Some are depressed or distracted and, quote, not really emotionally present. See, this is the thing. A mom can be in the home all day, but if she's disengaged from the kids, therein lies that emotional vacuum that takes place. So what Ms. Commissar says is when the mother can't be there, the best alternative is a single surrogate caregiver. And that would be optimally a relative. So therein the grandma would be able to, because she has vested interest in this little child, right? So the thing about this article, and I mean, you can see why many people would be a bit upset about it, but she talks about, she dislikes daycare very much and believes it is not appropriate for children under 3 because it's overstimulating given their neurological undevelopment. I mean, when you think about it, I just thought that was just too amazing when they said that babies do not have a nervous system. So here's the problem. She talks about the strange situation experiments, and you can look these up. In 1969, Mary Ainsworth is a developmental psychologist who pioneered attachment theory. A mom and a baby are on the floor playing. The mom gets up and leaves the baby in the room alone. The baby has separation anxiety response. So a stranger walks in. Now, this could be a lovely lady who works in the daycare, but whatever, a stranger walks in and the baby has a stressed reaction to the stranger. And now, but here again is where they've proven this. Aside from the stress reaction, researchers took it a step further and sampled the infant's saliva and tested it for cortisol, which is a hormone associated with stress, right? And inversely correlated with oxytocin. If you have too much cortisol, you are a stressed out lady, stressed out man. You've got to settle down. Oxytocin, on the other hand, gives you peace. So, long story short, the levels were so high in the babies. This is when the baby had a stressed reaction to the stranger, and the mom had left before that. The levels were so high in the babies that the anticipation was that it would, in the end, cause disorders and problems. So she really, she's not really a popular person. Like I said, the progressive media won't even let her on the show. And she was getting on one of the morning shows. I won't say which network. And before she was able to start her interview, the interviewer looked at her and said, "I don't believe in the premise of your book at all. I don't like your book." And so that's how she had to start the interview, which is not a very good way to start. So anyway, kind of amazing.
1-800-585-9396 is our toll-free number. That's the number Rachel used. She's in Owensboro.
Rachel?
Hi, Barbara.
How can I help?
I'm a 4, and I have struggled with postpartum depression twice, and was curious if the author spoke about that. I was trying to be there and mother my children, but mentally for a while I was in a place that I couldn't. Just wondering if she touched on that.
Oh, I hear him. She really didn't. She really didn't touch on that. But how long does postpartum? I've never had that. I mean, sometimes I say I had it when my mom left, But just that day she left, you just feel sad when your mom leaves, when she's helping you so much. But how long does it last normally, Rachel?
Well, for different women, it's different periods of time. For me, the first time, I had it and didn't realize it for the first 9 months, and did not know that's what it was. The second time, it lasted about 4 months, and you were talking about the hormone, was it the oxytocin or whatever it was, and
that's right.
I had to actually take medication to regulate that, and so I'm
there
just wondering if I was able to produce that for my child. As hard as I tried, I was, not in control of what my body was going through, I guess.
Well, that was something that could not be helped, and I think the fact that you were taking medication was helping you to be more engaged, wouldn't you say? Didn't it help you?
It did. It just took a while.
Yes.
But I will say, you spoke to if the mother couldn't be there, having a caregiver, another designated caregiver. And as a mom with postpartum, I learned quickly that I had to ask for help.
There you go.
I was able to have a couple women come into my home to help me with that. And so that made me feel good knowing that maybe even if I couldn't provide it, that someone else could for my child.
Well, you were smart. You took the bull by the horns and did the best you can do. I mean, you can't ask any more of yourself, right? And so how are they doing? How are they doing now? Everyone's fine, yes?
Yes.
Great. Well, that's awesome because, the bottom line of what this particular lady wants, Erica Commissar, is that we have a child-centric society. She's not about, this whole idea that women have to have a bunch of kids. I mean, that's not what she's all about. She admits that she doesn't think the way a lot of people think in the culture today. I look at the area in which I live, my high-tech area. Jack, you're so funny. And I look at it and I see, because you can get bigger houses for less money than anywhere else, probably in the state of California. There are a lot of homeschooling moms, great homeschooling moms, and they walk into church and they fill up the pew, and with the kids and everything.
Doesn't that just warm your heart? Of course, you grew up with that.
I grew up with that, and it does warm my heart, But I just feel like a lot of moms today, they're stressed out because sometimes they do have to work. And that's just a difficult place to be. But what she's really saying is for the first 1,000 days. So what are we talking about, Jack? What she wants is to have all mothers and babies should have the right to be together in the first year. That's she wants, and I think Ivanka Trump is trying to make some of these changes. She believes that maternity leaves should be had for the first year at full pay. Then the mother is not at all stressed about her job or anything, and she'll have the flexibility to be together as much as possible for the next 2 years, meaning mothers should have the ability to work flexibly and part-time. So she's all about if you can work flexibly and part-time. So, and she does mention here, I just see this now, she mentions Ivanka Trump's proposal to mandate 6 weeks paid leave for primary caregivers, regardless of sex. She said it's a start, it's not enough. Babies are just waking up from birth after 6 weeks, and even at 3 months, they are incredibly vulnerable and not necessarily bonded with their mothers, even after 3 months. So there's just, now they're putting a lot of science behind this. But here's what I thought. Call me crazy. Go ahead if you want. I could be.
Barbara, you're crazy.
But I'm thinking, look at all these young people now I would love to be able to get the backstories. How these people that are shooting up the place, these people that are violent, setting fires and rebelling and berserkly and everything else. I mean, come on. I'd like to see what their home life was all about, just to see if any of this correlates with what Ms. Commissar is talking about with when they get older, like, in high school and college, if it has any kind of bonding. We know is important, for Pete's sake. We know that. So anyway.
1-800-585-9396 is our toll-free number. It's toll-free anywhere in North America, 1-800-585-9396. If you're outside the United States and Canada, we'd love to hear from you. We've got a couple lines open for you at 1-205-271-2985. That's 1-205-271-2985. You can send us an email, openline@EWTN.com. You can text your question to Barbara. Text the letters EWTN to 55000. Wait for a response. Text your first name and your question, message, and data rates may apply. You can also find us on social media. We're on Facebook Live and YouTube. Just look for the EWTN radio pages on those respective social media sites. Open Line Tuesday rolls on with our very own pro-life warrior, Barbara McGuigan.
Most reality TV leaves out half of reality, the faith that drives us from within. We're giving you the whole picture, real life and faith.
Chris Stefanik is on a journey to uncover the bold, courageous Catholic faith found in the hearts of people all over the world. Meet the everyday Catholics who inspire him as they show the world how amazing faith makes everyday life. Real Life Catholic, Tuesday at 11 p.m. Eastern on EWTN TV.
Dr. Ray Guarendi.
He's not on drugs. Parents will come into my office and describe a litany of trouble about this long. Then they'll say this: I'm giving you the wrong impression. Overall, he's a pretty good kid. How so? Well, he's not on drugs or anything like that. One of the new moral high bars out there, he's not on drugs. You want to raise a child not with the absence of pathology, but with the presence of virtue. She's miserable with me, but she treats everybody else great. Again, not the absence of bad behavior, but the presence of good behavior. He's not on drugs? It's a rationale. May provide some comfort. It's not a path to virtue.
EWTN, helping people grow in their love and understanding of God.
Others that I would say definitely made an impact now is EWTN, and I go and walk at the park every day at lunch listening to you guys and being able to learn a lot more about the faith, learn a lot of other perspectives that I may have not have thought about. So I just want to thank y'all for being a big influence.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
This is Open Line on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. If you have a question or comment, call 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985 or send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
1-800-585-9396 is our toll-free number. Barbara McGuigan is in the house. Next stop for us, Carroll, Iowa. Tricia is in Carroll, listening to EWTN Radio. Tricia, you're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, Tricia.
Hi.
How you doing?
Blessed. Good, great. I was blessed to be able to stay home with my kids for the most part.
Great.
They were, now my youngest is 3.5, but now I've decided to go full-time, a part-time, 30 hours a week, instead of what I had with the kids, which was more of 20 hours. Mm-hmm. And I kind of homeschooled them until they were in optional kindergarten, and now he has the opportunity to be able to go to preschool. So I'm kind of torn because of your article or your thing that you're talking about here. He could still stay in a daycare setting, and I could teach him at home when I'm home, which I do now. Mm-hmm. But I don't know what the thoughts are out there, you know?
Well, your youngest is 3.5, is that what you said?
He is, yes, he is.
Well, she's talking about 3 years. She dislikes daycare very much under the age of 3, she says. It's overstimulating because their nervous system isn't developed yet.
Right. I agree with everything she's saying.
I do too.
People are on board with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a lot of ladies. I mean, look at all the ladies that, the tradition-minded conservative ladies out there that they welcome this info. That's why Catholic radio, Christian radio, too, loves this book, because they are always stereotyped, and she says this, is backward, superstitious, and hostile to science. But now they've got science backing them up on this. So, you know how so many people love to just quote science if it's not, they can say they believe it as long as it's scientific. Mm-hmm. So that's the whole thing, which really does amaze me too, because it's like she says, if a mother hears a crying baby, Miss Commissar says she will lean into the pain and say, "Oh, honey." But see, a father, and I've seen this more than a few times.
Make them tough, right?
Yeah, a father is more apt to tell the child, "Nah, come on, now you're okay. Brush it off, brush it off. Come on, let's go back. Let's get back to play." Because that's the way they're triggered. I mean, that's the way they have to be. They're
and
a little more.
I think a good balance of both of those is great.
Exactly
for the child. But I still feel, even with my older kids, the only reason they go to school is for social aspect. I feel academically they've learned a lot from each other and from us.
Yes,
and I just see sometimes the cry from other children for that same stimulation we give our children.
Yes.
Because I honestly think schools are great, but I think their primary learning is on the farm, in the country, out and about and play.
Oh, sure, of course.
And,
yes. Yeah. That's the best of both worlds, I think, to be out in the country on a farm. You learn so much. You just learn so much, and it's not hard to comprehend, why life is sacred, all life, and, the whole idea of life, watching little goats being born and puppies and everything else. It just gives them such a good confidence, doesn't it, in nature and everything? Yeah. And nature's God, put it that way. And ultimately, and nature's God as well. So, well, I am sure grateful to talk to you. And my kids, my little girls, and my son too, they went to preschool when they were 4. They went for preschool at 4 and then kindergarten. And then they were in Catholic school from there on out. But and then my little boys, my little grandbaby boys up there, 3, 5, 7, and 9 up in Marin County, they go to preschool at 3. She sends them at 3. This is Montessori. My goodness, do they learn in Montessori? I'm blown away every day when I see what they know. And that, of course, was a Catholic, Marie Montessori, who started that whole thing. So, they count beads. They look like rosaries. They have these long beads for math, and that's how long strands they look just like rosaries, but really, really long, and that's how they start learning sets. Can you imagine? And that was
from way back then. No, we're not blessed with preschool being Catholic, but because there's a free government program around us. So that's what I'm torn about, I think. But that's why my kids went straight to optional, which is more of a religious setting.
Great.
But it's a bump up from preschool.
Sure.
So I think he'll get both, but he'll be close by me because I work at the school now. So
good.
That's great. Easier.
That's great. Yeah. Well, God bless you, dear heart, for listening and for calling the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Next stop, North Platte, Nebraska. Ann is in Nebraska listening on Spirit Catholic Radio. Ann, you're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, Ann.
Hi, how are you?
Great, thanks. How can we help?
Well, I was just wondering if you would support, I completely agree that mothers should be able to stay home with their kids until they're 3 at least. And I did my best to do that as well, actually stepping away from the career I had then to stay home with my kids.
Yeah, it's a sacrifice sometimes.
Yes, but so many women can't afford to do that, and it's a struggle, especially for middle and lower income women. And I was wondering if you would support 2 years of paid maternity leave like many, if not most, European countries have right now.
Yeah, well, I think that's ultimately what Ms. Commissar is going for. that first 1,000 days, so that's 3 years, I think that that's exactly what she wants. And she's backing it up with science. She's backing it up not just with science. I mean, for 3 decades, she saw what was going on now with all the ADHD and, the stress that a lot of these kids are under. And how do they act it out with, a lot of times, with anger. They're aggressive and things like that. And, you just wonder if, I think she's on to something here. I think it'll be a miracle to try to turn these things around. But wouldn't that be nice? And to know that you wouldn't lose your job as well would be a nice aspect of it too. But basically I think she's on the right track when she says what she wants, what we all want, is to be a child-centric society, because we are not that now. And I imagine Europe might be even a bit more. I don't know about the 2. I know they have a long maternity leave. I don't know if it's 2 years, but possibly that you do know that. So that's a good start. That's a great start rather than 6 weeks. 6 weeks.
Paid maternity leave that's guaranteed right now, except for in certain states. There's no federally mandated maternity leave at all. So that would be a wonderful thing if we were able to get a year even.
No, you're right. You're so right. But, read the book. A lot of people are asking what the name of the book is. It's called Being There, Why Prioritizing Motherhood in the First 3 Years Matters. Being There.
That's
Why
great.
Prioritize. Yeah, there's a lot more in it. I'm just giving you bits and pieces. But there's a lot more in it.
Can I add one other thing?
Sure.
Can I add one other thing? I just want to let you know that being progressive politically myself, and so many of my progressive political friends would have loved to stay home with their children for 3 years.
Good. Well, that's good to know.
Women that want that. It's also progressive liberal women and their partners that would like the same thing. It's just very hard for many people to afford.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think more what she's talking about is the progressive media. She is really up against it with the Catholic, not Catholic or Christian radio stations. She refers to it as Christian stations, but it's the media that won't give her any airtime at all to promote her book, which is unfortunate. So I think she's more talking like that because she identifies as a progressive liberal.
We'll head back to the heartland. You're number one in Iowa today, Barbara. Don is in Council Bluffs, listening on Spirit Catholic Radio. Don, you're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, Don.
Hello. Talking about this book and the research that was done.
Yeah.
And the mother left the room and a stranger came in.
Yes.
Did they do any research? The mother left the room and a older sibling came in, or a relative came in.
Well, it doesn't say
what the
that.
Stress level for the child was.
Right. It doesn't say that, but maybe you weren't listening yet to the radio when I quoted her. She said that some moms are depressed. It could be depressed because they have to go off to work. That could be why they're depressed, or they're distracted, she said, and not really emotionally present. And when the mother can't be there, she said the best alternative is a single surrogate caregiver, optimally a relative. So I would imagine, Don, if I was a big sister, I was the oldest. I was like a second mother to 10 kids. And my mom and I worked in tandem, let me tell you. And because we always had a baby. It was so fun. It was so much fun. And we all worked together, but I would say an older sister or even an older brother, because everyone has something to give that is beautiful. If you're operating with grace, you're going to have some good stuff going on. So, yeah, I agree with you, Don. I think if it would be, but the point is not a stranger. The point is not a stranger, but a single surrogate caregiver is what she says. Okay?
Thanks, Don.
Okay,
We appreciate. Go ahead.
Thank you.
No, go ahead, Don.
No, I was just saying her own personal experience seemed to indicate that older siblings would be beneficial to, just
Well, I think that's safe to say, sure.
You better know it. You better know it. I mean, I love those kids and 5 boys. And then she started having on Christmas Day. My first baby sister was born on Christmas Day. And we prayed so many rosaries for 5 brothers. And I thought, dear God, the Blessed Mother doesn't do baby sisters. And on Christmas Day, there she was. I thought the Blessed Mother gave me a real live Christmas doll. And to this day, she's my Christmas doll. But then my mom and dad said, hey, we're on a girl roll. So they gave me 3 more baby sisters and then a baby brother.
1-800-585-9396 is our toll-free number. You know, Barbara, as baptized Catholics, we all have a mandate to be evangelists in some
yes, we do.
means or manner, but you don't necessarily have to be standing in the public square on a soapbox preaching the gospel to be an evangelist or to even be a missionary. You can help spread the word of EWTN in your local parish through our Media Missionary program. Media missionaries take EWTN to their parishes and the community through the print and electronic media that we provide. So visit EWTNmissionaries.com today, and you can help join us in sharing the eternal word with the world. Next up is Brian in Easton, Maryland, listening to EWTN on Sirius XM Channel 130. Brian, you're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, Barbara, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. Good man. What's up with you?
So I'm here with my 10-year-old, and I was watching Ivanka Trump last night. I was a little disappointed, to be honest.
Oh,
because
really?
We have 7 kids. Well, here's why. I think you'll agree. We have 7 kids, and I totally get the need for people who are lower income to take care of their kids, but Ivanka Trump's not one of them. And I think we need better role models of wealthy people who say, my wife included, and we've made a decision to actually act like the most important thing in our life is our kids.
Yes, sure.
And I think that right now, a lot of people who don't need to work, and we're not talking about those people who paycheck to paycheck, I get that. But somebody who is very wealthy, who doesn't need to work, it'd be a great example. And my wife is a testimony every day. She's an electrical engineer. She stays home with our kids. We need role models. I want to hear what you think about that, saying, you know what? We need more people who say the most important thing to me is this covenant with my husband and these beautiful souls that God's entrusted to us. What do you think about that?
I agree with you 100%, Brian. It takes a lot of grace and a lot of guts to be able to step down. I have a wonderful friend who was the CEO of a big top executive in this company, and she started to see her 2 children that they were lacking in things. They were lacking in kind of social skills, and anyway, there were problems. And she is brilliant, and she boiled it down to the fact that she's been gone for a long time, and had other people watching the kids. And so she gave it all up because her husband's job was somewhat in jeopardy. And so she gave it all up. And so here she is. They're both in school now, her children. But so she's doing an in-home kind of job where she can just be doing, something while they're at school. But she realized that she wasn't there enough. Now, this is not to cast shadows on anyone who works in a preschool. My goodness. My daughter, right when she graduated from Steubenville, got married, and they moved to Pittsburgh, actually, and she worked for a time until she could get a teaching position. She worked in a preschool, and they had so many babies, and I remember her taking me in there when I was visiting her because she got pregnant then, and these little babies were in swings, and there were like 20 kids in swings in this big room. And when Missy and I walked into the room, guess what they did? They put both of their hands up, like, hold me. The whole swings room. I'm telling you, I almost started to cry. Yeah. It was the saddest thing. And some did start to cry because they wanted to be held. And that's not to say that these people that work in these places do not do their very best. Of course they do. And thank God for them. But, I think if the mentality of the culture could change a bit and we weren't as concerned with material things, But like you said, more with our children being our treasures, we'd be much better off.
Thanks so much for the phone call. The number again, 1-800-585-9396. We've still got time for your phone calls. Next stop, Wall Township, New Jersey. Ann is in Wall Township listening to EWTN Radio. Ann, you're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, Ann.
Hi, Barbara. Hi, Barbara. How are you? Hi.
I'm good. How can we help?
Well, I'm calling because I was not able to tune in right at the beginning of the show, but when I came on, you were talking about how mothers sometimes are depressed, and then the effect of cortisol on the babies and things like that. And I was thinking, you were like telling my life story, but because when I had my children, my first son especially, I was home and I was depressed, but I was depressed because I don't know if you would say it was depressed or just feeling unworthy, because I was a post-abortive woman, and of course I'd never told anybody about that.
Sure.
So I kind of kept it to myself and, felt like a terrible mother. And I never really knew why I thought I was such a terrible mother, But that was that story. And then it took us a long time to have a second child. My second one was born a little over 5 years later. And kind of the same thing. I was, I got to stay home for a year with both of my boys. And then staying home was frightening. It was daunting. It was because I didn't know why. I didn't know why, but I just knew that I just felt like such a terrible, terrible mother. I have worked through these issues. So
I was going to say, how did you push through that? Counseling? Is that what you did?
Oh yeah. Oh well, it took me 25 years to make it to a Rachel's Vineyard retreat.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Well, that's the best thing, but 25 years of suffering, huh?
25 years, yes, and there was a lot. And then the whole cortisol. I grew up in an alcoholic, dysfunctional family, and there was times when I was just a child, and I was laying in bed in fear.
Sure.
I was older than 3, but not much older. I was like 7 or 8. And I just thinking, what did all that cortisol do? So anyway, I have a whole story. I did actually write a book, and I did send it to you. I don't know if you got it, but it's
No, wait, did you? Tell me the name of your book.
Transformed by Fire.
Hey, listen here. I have it right next to me, and I've been trying to find your email. And see the email.
It's in the...
I have it. I have it now. I found the book. It was packed. See, that's the problem. But I have it right next to me. Yes. I'm going to give you dates for the good fight, dear lady, and I have your email address and everything. Ann BG55?
Correct.
At gmail.com. Okay, so I'm so glad you... Gosh, this is all God, let me tell you, because I thought, because you emailed me on my Cox account that is no longer...
Okay.
I can't send emails. I can only get for about 30 more days, and then they're going to erase my whole email.
Okay.
So, they don't do Cox out here in the country. So anyway, well, good, Ann. I'm so glad. You called, and that's a very good testimony. You're going to have to give that, dear lady. You know that, right?
Okay. Well, I try to.
Yes.
I try to. So.
But because you can help other souls that are waiting 25 years.
That's what I was led.
Yes.
That's what I was led to all along.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be emailing you any second now. So, all right. I'm glad you called, dear heart. Thank you.
Okay.
You and about 10,000 other listeners that just heard her email. 1-800-585-9396 is our toll-free number.
Well, it's in her book.
There you go. Next up is Pete in the great state of Louisiana. He's listening on the Almighty's 690. Pete, you're on with Barbara McGuigan. Don't give her your email address, brother. I'm telling you.
Hi, Pete. I'm sorry. I didn't know. My goodness. Okay. How can we help, Pete?
I just wanted to comment on, the whole thing about paid leave. But, we have 5 kids, and they're all out of the house now. But no one ever comments about high taxes. And if you had looked at my paychecks over the years, the amount of money that I paid in taxes is just incredible. So I just encourage younger people, and everybody to get more active and keep those taxes low, because in reality, a lot of times you're working to pay these high taxes, and then you have to make these sacrifices and maybe not be able to stay at home with your kids. And so it's a big deal. But no one ever mentions that. They always say, oh, the company should give 2 years leave.
Yes. Well, you are so right. So much has to be worked out, and I think the president is trying to do that right now. Don't you think he's trying to work on lowering our taxes? It appears that way to me. Anyway, how about you?
I do, and I feel badly for you and your grandkids out in California because, man, that's so much money. And I think about Jimmy Akin. He always says, you really don't. You want to keep as much money out of the wasteful hands of government, and
no
but people never point to that and look at their check and say, "Look at all the money." I mean, we sent our 5 kids through Catholic schools, so we didn't even tax the public school system with our kids, and it's just an incredible amount of money.
We pay those.
So much waste.
You're right. We pay taxes for the public schools as well, huh? You are so right. I would move in a hot second out of this state if I could. It's just getting worse and worse, and now with assisted suicide, abortion on demand. I mean, really, they have bought death on every. I'll stop. But thanks so much for calling, Pete.
God bless you, Pete. We appreciate the phone call. Back to Nebraska we go. Beth is in Nebraska listening on Spirit Catholic Radio. Beth, you're on with Barbara.
Hi, Beth.
Hi. Good afternoon, Barbara. My call is actually a comment. So, and it kind of goes along with what your previous caller said. And my perspective is from that of I have 11 children, but we also own our own business.
Good. Well, you put them all to work, don't you? You put them all to work, right?
well, I don't know. We own our own business, and so my perspective is I am very pro stay home with your children, but on the other end, this woman promoting these lengthy maternity leaves, we own a small business. That's absolutely impossible for us to pay with current taxes. With the tax bracket, we currently are paying about 42% of our income to the federal government. So when they come up with something that says federally mandated, I kind of cringe.
Well, no, I hear you. I think they're probably referring more to big corporations and things, like that. But can't you can regulate basically who you want to hire and things, right? Like the kids?
Oh, yeah, I can. I just, it's just a perspective I wanted to throw out there along with the gentleman before that the taxes are killing families. Satan attacks us on all fronts, and that's one of them. And my husband likes to say, I make a lot of money, but I spend a lot of money because we do send our kids to, Franciscan University, Ave Maria, and all we do is pay for college.
Yeah, well, listen here, but you're doing the right thing, and they're going to come out like great kids. Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Great kids.
And
they'll have the formation that they need, let me tell you. Yeah, a lot of schools teach you how to make a living, but they don't teach you how to make a life. Thank you so much,
I do commend
Beth.
this author for making a statement.
Stepping out there. Thank you, dear heart.
God bless you, Beth. We appreciate the phone call. My apologies to Kenny and Rachel, but we are flat out of time. Barbara, thanks as always for being so gracious with yours.
Oh, you're so welcome. You too, Jack.
On behalf of our host, Barbara McGuigan, our producer, Michael McCall, call screener Matt Gubensky, and our social media maven, Mr. Jeff Burson, I'm Jack Williams. Thanks so much for tuning in to EWTN's Open Line. Back at it tomorrow. Father Mitch Pacwa is in the house, taking your questions on church teaching, canon law, sacred scripture, ancient languages, how to best trim your beard. All of that tomorrow with Father Mitch. Until we get together then, God bless.